if an individual painting company can overcome that in terms of having self-managing and operating crews, that is when they go from painter to business owner. That is the biggest turning point.
Welcome back to another episode of The Pursuit of Purpose. My name is Chris Kiefer, and today I am here with Benson Fechter, who is the CEO of Legacy Paint Holdings. And we are going to be talking today about holding companies and how this particular company, Legacy Paint Holdings, helps companies achieve sustainable growth and operational excellence. So I'm excited for this. This seems like a topic or a business strategy that I've seen pop up in a few different places. So I was excited for the opportunity to get to ask Benson some questions on it. So first of all, Benson, thank you so much for coming on today.
Yeah, great to be here, Chris.
So, tell us, what is Legacy Paint Holdings? Where, like, obviously, you're the CEO of it. When did you start this? How long has it been around? How many companies are a part of this? Whatever other information you can share on like the why behind all of it.
Yeah, so Legacy Paint Holdings is really the culmination of the last 5 years of work that I've personally had in the painting industry. 2020, when COVID hit, I started my own painting business. I was given the gift of time, as we all were during that pandemic. A buddy of mine was landscaping, and he had a few people that needed some painting done. So my brother and I, we decided to start a little student painting business in my hometown of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania that summer. We were extraordinarily successful in doing marketing, hiring people, and very quickly I was running around just doing estimates and managing job sites rather than brush in hand. So over the next few summers, I went off to Providence College in Rhode Island for school, recruited a few people to open up sort of a few more branches, and we opened up 5 total locations for our little student painting organization. Learned a lot while doing it, learned what to do, what not to do, and eventually started a company called Precision Painting Advisors in the fall of 22, where we did consulting and coaching work for painting contractors across the country. Worked with a little bit over 150 painting companies over my time period doing that, and really focused on building out what does it look like to run a successful painting business. And then we developed what we call the 6 pillars of success. Now, these 6 pillars could be applicable to any business underneath the sun, but we've applied them to the painting space. Where pillar number 1 is sales and marketing. How can we drive leads in and get work in? Pillar number 2 is human resources. How can we get people to do the work that we've just sold? Pillar number 3 is operations, making sure that we're efficient with our labor, our materials, that we're hitting high gross margins. Pillar number 4 is business systems. What are we using from project management to accounting, email marketing, marketing in general, all the systems that connect everything together. Pillar number 5 is financial planning. Are we doing budgeting, financial forecasting, predicting, making sure that we have a sustainable cash flow? And pillar number 6 is tax planning, making sure that we're sending as little money as we can to DC this time of year. And in doing all of that and working with the contractors we did, really built out that system very, very well. So this past summer is an inspiration from a few other roll-ups that I've and our board has firsthand experience in putting together in the HVAC, electric, and landscaping spaces. We put together this group, Legacy Paint Holdings. Currently, we have 5 companies in our portfolio. After really starting in earnest this past September of 2024, quickly growing, quickly expanding. Excited to see what's next in this journey, but that's sort of the last 5 years of my journey in the painting space, just in a few.
And so why would a painting company want to be like acquired or partially like sell part of their shares to Legacy Paint Holdings?
Yeah, so I mean, there's a whole number of reasons. We can start on just the basics of when we go in and we acquire a painting company. First off, we're acquiring outright the businesses that we invest in. So I know some other groups in the space are doing minority investments. We come in and we acquire the full business. Now, what we allow our previous owners to do. And what they do is they then roll a significant bit of equity from the sale price into the overall holding company. So now they go from owning 100% of their painting company on whatever area they happen to be in to now owning a chunk of these 5 painting companies across the US. It's essentially increasing the value of their enterprise. And when we look at contractors, who typically, the way that all contractors make money is they go out, they sell a job, price it in materials, whatever they price it at, and then they essentially are arbitraging day labor. That's the contractor mindset. What we're looking to do is take that contractor mindset and turn it into a capitalist mindset of what can we do to capitalize on our cash flow versus simply arbitraging our day labor. So that's really reason number one. Reason number two is in this roll-up space, by being a part of a larger group, inherently the individual entity is going to become much, much more valuable. So you look at an individual painting company, no matter how big they get, if they're in one local market, they might sell for 3, 4, 5x their EBITDA. However, in a roll-up space like this, which has been proven out in other roll-up spaces in the home services industry, have the opportunity to sell for anywhere from 8 to 16x their EBITDA. So the financial benefit of being a part of this group, both in the long term, is there. Now, in the short term, all of our previous owners, they come back and they essentially continue to run their businesses as the general manager, hired back on to do so. Continue to run the business, run the job sites, do the estimates, but now they have all sorts of resources that they didn't have before. They have a full team, our Legacy Paint Holdings team, working every single day on their behalf. The way that we like to say it is our previous owners, the owners of the companies, they work in their business, which is typically why they got into it, because they're pretty good at painting, know how to run crews, etc. While we work on the business and ensure that we continue to grow in those 6 pillars that I outlined previously. And that's really where we can see the business continue to grow. When we come in and we acquire, our owners make not a single dollar less than when we didn't own the business. So now that they are making more money, and as the businesses grow, they will continue to have their salary increase, dividends from the holding company, and the ultimate benefit of a potential exit in the long term as we continue to grow the enterprise value.
So why, I'm trying to think through because I'm not an expert in the entity structure here, but it seems like if I am a painting company or painting business owner, my options are like I could join a company that does like a minority stake in the business. I could hire, a consultant, obviously. I could join some mastermind group to get feedback and learn how to grow and scale my business. I could open a franchise. And then obviously, no, there's yours, which is I can basically sell my entire business, get shares in a larger holding company, which sounds like unique in that way. Is that the main, like, how would you guys distinguish what you are from, say, a franchise? Because the franchise, or this is my understanding, the franchise is like they have systemized the processes, they've done the marketing, they have all the software, they teach you how to do what you need to do to be successful. And that's basically what you guys are also doing, those pieces, but obviously completely different, like ownership and what is it called? The payment structure of how you're paying the franchise and whatnot. But what's the difference in how do you distinguish yourself from a franchise?
Yeah. So the first difference off the top, I mean, we look at the bigger painting franchises that exist, CertaPro, 5 Star, the 2 big ones that come to mind. When someone is looking to buy one of these franchises, there's an upfront investment that is required to buy into, the franchise and to get all the services, the branding, everything else that comes with it. So there's no, exchange of money, between going from the contractor to us, the holding company, right? The only exchange of money that is happening in terms of, getting our companies going and everything is we pour a ton of time, energy, resources, capital into our businesses that we acquire. And that is coming that way. And then eventually, once the businesses get going, sort of becomes a two-way street there. Now, beyond that, again, we look at CertaPro and Five Star and all the different branches that they have across the country. They all operate under the branding of CertaPro or Five Star, whereas all of our companies that we acquire, they retain and keep their local brand, image, name, likeness, all the rest, because we believe in the value of true, authentic local brands that have built up value over a period of time. So the companies that we acquire are valuable, local, authentic brands that we value extremely high, where we don't want to touch, redoing, their name. We can look at logo colors, things like that. But ultimately, the identity that they've built for themselves, they get to keep and retain and be able to build upon. Whereas CertaPro and Five Star, that option is not there. In terms of the services that are being offered and the exchange of services happening there, yeah, you could say it's similar to a franchise model in that sense. I would say we are significantly more hands-on with our owners on a day-to-day and week-to-week basis. Our team is in constant communication with every single one of our companies on the ground every single day, myself included. So having that hands-on approach and those services provided there without the royalty fees, without all those things that come with it, and largely without having to pay CertaPro or Five Star, the big investment to get into the business, is the big thing. And then beyond that, when I buy into a CertaPro or a Five Star franchise, I'm spending the $100,000 or whatever CertaPro advertises it's going to be to buy into their franchise. I'm now locked in, to working with CertaPro for a period of time, selling that business. Again, if we look at what I explained with the EBITDA difference between an individual painting company and being a part of a roll-up group, that long-term benefit just isn't there. So ultimately, the way that I see it is painting contractors really have one of two options if we encounter them. Now, we're looking for a very specific type of painting company, but for those companies that we do come across, they have the option to continue to operate as they've been operating, successful local businesses. They'll be able to make a nice living for themselves and be able to provide for themselves and their families. But the long-term big benefit just simply isn't there. Because in the roll-up space, all of our owners who roll equity into our group will have the ability to participate in multiple liquidity events. And that's the big thing. Have the ability to not only sell once, but 2, 3, 4 times, and to continue to capitalize on that cash flow and really go again from contractor to capitalist.
What do you mean sell once or sell multiple times? How does that work?
Yeah. So, for example, with other partners that exist in the industry, or if we were to do this, if I were to come in and I were to buy a painting business and I were to cut someone $1 million check, I now own 100% of the business in exchange for that $1 million, right? No equities being exchanged, just cash for the business. That $1 million is all that owner is going to see, right? Unless there's some other way that the deal is structured. But let's assume it's just the $1 million. Now, they never see anything else. They can continue to work in the business. They can continue to do whatever they want to do. But with us, when we come in and we acquire a company, and say, our company in Boston, for example, that we have Supreme Painters and Remodelers, we come in and we acquire their business. And rather than just exchanging cash, we also exchange equity. So equity in their business for equity in our business, as well as other things that are involved in that deal. So now that they have equity in the holding company, when the holding company in the future eventually does exit, they will get paid out for the shares that they have in that group. Now, with all of these exits that have occurred in the private equity space over the last half dozen years, it is all but a requirement that for current shareholders that they continue to roll equity into the next round of this. So if and when we eventually do sell to a private equity group, those shares that, again, that painting company in Boston has, they will have the ability to take whatever that purchase price is and roll additional equity into the next round, which will then go on, do the same thing, acquire more companies and sell later down the road. So we're taking $1 today, turning it into $5 tomorrow, and then in the future, turning that $5 into $20. That's the benefit of the multiple liquidity events, where it's not just a one-time check our owners are receiving.
Mm. Is there also tax differences in?
Yeah.
If I get $1 million check this year, I'm getting taxed on what, 400 grand of that? Whereas in this situation, if I get shares, I could potentially only take 200,000
Nope.
in cash now, and that I'm not getting taxed on that other 800,000 in shares that I got, correct?
And that's how, I mean, you look at the news and the media when they talk about Elon Musk and other billionaires barely paying anything in tax. That's the exact structure that they have, where they're making most of their wealth and their money in their value of the shares that they have in their organizations increasing. So, yeah, if there's $1 million transaction and they roll $800,000 of that in equity, there's no tax implication on that until that is realized, right? So, that $800,000 can have the opportunity to, let's say, turn, we 4x that, turn it into 3.2. Now you'll pay tax on that 3.2 when that value is realized, but you're not paying it in the short term. So there's that long-term tax benefit as well.
Got it. So you answered the branding thing. I was wondering about that. Keep individual brands. Um, what's the what do you feel like the strongest aspect of the business? Like if you were saying the thing that you guys are best at, like you guys are good at a lot of stuff, but the thing that you guys are absolutely crushing compared to any other option, what would be the vertical that you're really good in, or business knowledge or process or whatever?
Yeah, I would say in terms of what really differentiates us from any sort of potential partner company like this that does exist is the time and resources that we pour into our companies. Like I said, every single person on our team has touch points with all five of our companies on the ground multiple times throughout the day. When we come in and we integrate our companies, by far and away, the most important thing that we do is we get every single person in the organization bought into the overall picture. So much so that every single one of our painters that works for us, they receive equity in the holding company. So now they go from just being a painter, working for Supreme Painters or Fry's Painting or Cardinal Painting, to now having shares in an overall holding company that is valuable, that they'll receive dividends and profit sharing from, and that when we eventually in the future do go to sell, they will be able to financially benefit from. And it's getting that buy-in from everybody in the whole team. Every single week, we have weekly leadership calls. Bring all the leaders from our portfolio companies and explain what's going well over the past week, what can we work on, what are we able to improve on over the coming week. And it's really important for us that we're all on the same team, all rowing the same boat, and that sort of community aspect that by and large just doesn't exist as an entrepreneur. Being an entrepreneur is a pretty lonely journey at times, and we are essentially removing that loneliness factor and giving them a whole team that is working on their behalf every single day and day in and day out. And there's really only upside, for our owners that when they join us.
Mm. What's the how do you guys manage all the data for the sake of
Yeah.
this is
Right.
I'm just the nerd on the love dashboards and roll ups of everything. Do you have really strong reporting from I'm thinking the the command center where you can see how many leads are coming in by location and revenue and how many estimates went out this week and all that stuff? Obviously, I'm assuming the business does, but how are you guys doing that from the holding company level?
Yeah, so it's super important for us to have that at a glance look when we're dealing with the five portfolio companies. And given that, again, we are about 5-6 months into this journey as well, and we're going to continue to quickly grow and expand, it becomes even more important as that number grows that we can have a good understanding of what is going on the ground with those KPIs and things that are coming in. So just isolating that sales and marketing portion, because when we look at the 6 pillars, that's why it's number one. If that doesn't exist, nothing exists. We look at very, very specifically three big metrics. And those three metrics that we look at are our cost per contact in terms of our different marketing sources that we're using, our cost per estimate, and our customer acquisition cost, and looking at our different marketing channels. So if we're using Facebook, Google, door hangers, other sources, referrals, website, etc. Break it all down and see very specifically what marketing channels are working, what channels might be worth dropping or investing a little bit more time in, and seeing also what is our closing rate in each one of those categories, what is the average job size in each one of those categories. And then beyond that, breaking it down to when we get to the financial planning piece, if we know that we want one of our companies to be doing $150,000 next month, then we know very, very specifically based off of previous data how many estimates each day, each week that need to be happening to get that done. And then we can sort of backtrack from there. So if we know that we have to get, let's say, 15 estimates this week done for one of our companies, we'll go ahead and see, okay, what is our cost per estimate? And say it's $75. Okay, 15 times 75. We know very specifically what we need to spend on marketing and where we need to spend those marketing dollars to ensure that we hit those KPIs. And that is really the exciting piece to me. I am also a big numbers fan. I love spreadsheets, dashboards, everything. And being able to just break it down into those simple terms of realistically with our previous marketing history, what do we need to spend and where do we need to spend it to hit these goals, it's beyond what 95% of painting contractors in the market are currently doing.
Yeah. So my question, all the KPIs make sense, but how are you actually, like, do you have standardized CRMs or just one CRM that everybody uses? Because in my experience, companies that have struggled they haven't standardized the tech in these like holding companies. So you're letting them all use their own brand, which means you have your own emails, which means, there's a lot of implications that I'm thinking through of like, there is at some point, because you're keeping all the brands separate, you have to allow them to do their own thing on the customer facing side. But do you have like everybody uses this CRM, or is it a custom software that you built, or how are you actually managing the data?
The way that we see is we're a decentralized national organization. So the front end, customer facing, it's going to be the unique individual brands. But on the back end, the business side of it, everybody is using the same exact systems and doing it largely the same exact way. And that's a big part of the integration process, for example, is getting all of our contractors onto the same project management system that we use. And we use Notify for our project management, very powerful, robust platform. Getting everybody, most painting companies are inside Intuit and QuickBooks for their bookkeeping, but getting everybody into our bookkeeping system and that we're all using the same bookkeeper, right? Because each bookkeeper is going to do things a little bit of a different way, chart of accounts, the way they're doing things. So making sure that if we're looking at 5 different companies, if we had 5 different bookkeepers, even if all the charts of accounts were the same, different bookkeepers do things at different paces. They might go in once a month, once a week, whatever it is. But by making sure that we can get all of our numbers at the same time and compare at the same time, that's very important. And those are the main 2 systems that I would say that we use. In terms of our tech stack beyond that, we all use the same exact software. There's no differentiating factor there. The companies have varying, different softwares. I would say the conversion from drip jobs to Notify is probably the most common thing that we've done. And for the 5 companies, one was using Jobber prior to Notify. But that's mainly just, migrating that data over and making sure that it's all there. And then the nice part is in terms of the Notify platform and system, we're able to see the individual company level, but then we have dashboards for everything at the same time as well. And it definitely makes it helpful to get that at a moment glance.
That's awesome. Yeah. Any other, what else is like, I'm sure I always ask when people come on, there's generally a few topics that are like things that are either very relevant. Maybe you had discussions recently that are top of mind, maybe something you wanted to share with everyone listening. But what other, we've got probably 5 more minutes before I head into my wrap up questions. What are the things you want to share?
Yeah. So, and this is good timing because it's within the last day or so here. The painting contractors, the big group that is on Facebook, the one that Trip Jobs puts on, that is the 250,000 members in it. I put a post in there yesterday, essentially explaining what the difference is between a painter and a business owner, right? And the different things that would qualify you as a painter and the different things that would qualify you as a business owner. And ultimately, it's as simple as, can the business run without you present? And that's sort of the biggest test that tells if you're a painter or if you're a business owner. And I thought it was a relatively straightforward post. At the end of it, I asked the question, if you have made that transition from a painter to a business owner, what was the biggest, turning point for you, or what was the biggest reason why you were able to do that? And then conversely, I asked, if you're working towards that, if you're working from going from painter to business owner, what is the biggest thing that you are struggling with right now? And it was very, very interesting seeing the replies to this thread. There's something over 100 plus comments in that specific thread right now. And the biggest thing that I found, which was very interesting to me, is a lot of companies and a lot of guys, typically solo painters, sort of comfortable being in the position that they're in right now. And whether they're comfortable because they don't know what to do next, or they just want to be the guy that goes around and paints for people and just has a simple life, I'm not sure. It's probably a mix of the two. But a lot of feedback that was, it's impossible to find help. I've used help in the past, but they've been drunks and convicts and criminals, and they steal from me and they take side jobs and everything else. And it definitely seemed as if the common refrain there was essentially almost I don't know what to do, and specifically regarding the help and getting labor, the HR side of it, to get jobs done. And I thought that was a very interesting piece to see where that is the biggest turning point. If an individual painting company can overcome that in terms of having self-managing and operating crews, that is when they go from painter to business owner. And for the people that were in that business owner category, there was still a lot of, hey, this is difficult. It's not easy. But when you push through and you get to the other side of it, that's where the real money is made in this space. And just thought I would bring that up as a point of conversation, and really understanding that investing in your own leadership and managing abilities is what I think is truly going to be able to unlock those next steps for a lot of guys who want to get to that next level, but just might not know how to get there yet.
I love this. Yeah, that's. I think there's so much. It's just a next level of a game that you're playing with the finance side and strategy. And yeah, I really like the idea of just trying to leverage the cash flow that a contracting business generates, and use that more effectively.
Well, one other point that I did want to bring up before we get into those wrap up questions is when we look at the painting industry as a whole, annually it's about a $40 billion industry. There are about 250,000 painting contractors in the space that are registered. There's probably more than that, but that's sort of the number that gets thrown out there a lot. You do the math on that, you do 40 billion, you divide the 250,000 contractors. The average contractor is coming out and doing about $150,000 a year. It means 50% are doing less than that. 50% are doing more. But we exist in a space, in an industry that is relatively unprofessionalized. And that's not a knock on any of the guys that are in the space. They're some of the hardest working people that you will ever encounter. But bringing professional systems and professional management to the space, it is what is going to allow us at Legacy Paint Holdings to really allow our portfolio companies to take off. And on an individual company level, even if you're not working with us, taking that professional mindset, professional attitude, bringing that business knowledge to the space is how you're going to be able to have a successful painting business as well, and not be stuck in a very, very fragmented space that is big, but just has so many tiny, contractors out there that if they just tapped into those professional aspects of what they can bring to the industry, that is where they can get to that next level.
That's awesome. 3 book recommendations.
3 book recommendations. Well, I am an avid reader, so I'll start with the book that I am currently reading. It's Beyond Order by Dr. Jordan B. Peterson. If you read his 12 Rules of Life, it's sort of the extension of that book. And Dr. Peterson has always been an inspiration to me since he really came onto the public scene a handful of years ago. I've read his 12 Rules of Life, Maps of Meaning. Very avid listener of his podcast. But Beyond Order, the reason why I would certainly recommend that is it goes beyond, like the book says, beyond sort of the 12 rules of life is very sort of tangible, how to get out of chaos, where Beyond Order is how to manage and deal with chaos. And I think that is such a good point to have. And I was on chapter 2 here this afternoon, and the title of chapter 2 was Aim Your Life Towards Something, Pick a Goal, and work every single day like your life depends on accomplishing that goal. And that is just a perfect sentiment right there. Second book that I would recommend, if you are a fiction fan, I really like the book Lonesome Dove. Great sort of Western cowboy book. It's a bit of a longer novel. The reason I got into it is over the summer when the Ronald Reagan movie came out. I was looking into Ronald Reagan's background and everything. And this happened to be his favorite novel of all time. So I was like, well, I have to read it. And certainly fits the spirit of Ronald Reagan if you know anything about his Western endeavors. So I would definitely recommend that book as well. And then the third book that I would recommend, and really it's the volume as a whole, and I recently just finished reading it here this fall, is the full 3-volume set of the Gulag Archipelago. I think that, growing up and everything, really in America, we hear about the evils of Nazism quite extensively, but communism is not as much. And Solzhenitsyn's first-person perspective on that, and being able to come out on the other side of his experiences in the Gulag really is a powerful story. So a bit spread out there between Beyond Order, Lonesome Dove, and the Gulag Archipelago, but definitely books that I certainly would recommend reading.
Fantastic. I've read some, or 12 Rules for Life for Jordan Peterson, but I haven't read the other two. So, or the Beyond Order either. And movie suggestion.
I just saw a movie with my wife over the weekend. It was with Zachary Levi, Unbreakable Boy. I thought it was an excellent film. It's still in theaters right now. It just came out last weekend. But Zachary Levi plays father of him and his wife in the film have an autistic son and then a younger brother, and really shows the power of mindset and working through things. And sort of by the end of it, they struggle with the fact that their son has autism and sort of self-medicate in different ways. And by the end of it, sort of the moral is, I want to live every day like my son, because my son can live every day like it's the best day of his life. And the message in that is extremely powerful. Would definitely highly recommend that movie. Throw one more in there. Sound of Hope came out this past summer. A story about a rural community in Texas, church community that adopted, I think, 30 some children out of the foster care system. And sort of that moral of that story was quite powerful. And at the end of it, and sort of a display on the screen where in the United States, we have all sorts of churches, Protestant, Catholic, non-denominational in between, that if just one family and 25% of the churches in the U.S. were to adopt out of the foster care system, we would not have any children in the foster care system in the U.S. And it showed, the power of that ability, and this group of people in rural Texas that stepped up to the plate and accomplished that.
That's awesome. Well, Benson, I love, I always like asking book recommendations and movie recommendations, because you can kind of get a glimpse into someone's life views and whatnot. So I resonate with a lot of what you're sharing, and excited to continue to learn from you. But if someone wants to get in touch, how do you recommend that they do that?
Yeah, I mean, LinkedIn, Facebook. I'm active on those two platforms with my name, Benson Fechter. Alternatively, you can shoot me an email. It's Benson, BENSON, @legacypaintholdings.com. And of course, you can visit our website there as well, legacypaintholdings.com.
Awesome. Well, Benson, this was fun. Thank you so much. Appreciate your time, and we will talk soon.
Appreciate it, Chris. Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening. My name is Chris Kiefer, and my mission is to champion the relentless pursuit of purpose. And what that means to me is to be an example, a champion, someone that is in the trenches, working and showing and winning and trying and failing in how to pursue a deeper and more meaningful life with the people that I love, with my kids, with my friends, with our family, and also just be a champion and example of entrepreneurship and following my passion and doing what I believe I'm called to on this earth. And so if that inspires you in some way, please share this episode. If you want, like, subscribe, share, whatever, do all the stuff. It means the world to me to get this message and get these guests that I have out there. And if you're interested in any of the book recommendations or looking up other episodes of the movie list, you can visit my website, chriskiefer.com, for all the details on the show. And also check out the Boolean review software, as well as the Boolean automation consulting company that I own for home service businesses. So thank you so much, and we'll see you on the next episode.